In this video, I review the price of oil in terms of technical analysis. We have a look at the narrative now for the next 6 to 12 months given recent vaccine news, along with demand and supply concerns. Hello everyone, it's Sajad. I hope you've had a great week. So what happens now with oil I think will be key. As I'm about to show you in a minute on the charts, oil has been correlating the wider stock markets quite closely since the March lows, minus the oil shock we had in April. And it begs the question now, are we going to rally, or as more countries go into a second lockdown, are we going to get another demand shock? So what are we seeing at the moment in the news? Well, vaccine hopes fail to spark revival in oil demand forecasts. So the kind of narrative at the moment is because of the lockdowns, despite the vaccine, the short-term forecast for oil demand is still weak. How do we know that? Well, if you look at what the main agencies have said for 2021, they clearly see a reduction in demand for oil, as you can see here. So pretty much Q4 right now and then into Q1 and Q2, we're still below the zero level here. Most optimistic is actually IEA. And what they've cited is concerns about further restrictions in movement and economic activity. The other concern is one of supply. As you can see on this chart, the concern is with regards to Libyan oil production, which was low for the last few months and is projected to rise significantly, pretty much to levels where it was previously in 2019, and Libya being exempt from the wider group's output agreement. In other news, we can see here that motorway traffic in Europe is actually down almost 50% in some countries. And again, I can't verify this, but according to this Bloomberg article, passive oil investors have pulled out $460 million from exchange traded funds, so ETFs, so far this week. So let's have a look at the chart at the moment for US oil. And I think it's crucial actually to have a look at the structure more than anything else. And what I'm going to do today is give you a forecast of what I think could happen with the price of oil in the coming 6 to 12 months, given everything we know right now, including early news of a vaccine, which still obviously requires a lot more work in terms of safety tests, how it will work when it comes to travel arrangements, etc. So I'm going to take you through that analysis right now. All I ask in return is a quick like on the video to help with the YouTube algorithm, and please comment below to show your support, and I'll continue to do regular updates on the price of oil. So what I think we've seen now, almost certainly confirmed, is a full impulse wave complete here, and I've marked off the highs 43.75. I think this was a 5-wave move ending in a diagonal here at the top. I think this was a 5-wave impulse up. Now, for that to be the case, what we see in markets, after an impulse, you see a correction, which tends to be a flag either sideways or downwards sharply, and then continuation in the trend. Now, my feeling is long term, as I've discussed in pretty much all the oil videos over the last few months, long term, I'm very bullish on oil. Now, you're probably wondering then, well, Sajad, how does that work? How can you be bullish on oil right now? Clearly, these articles are showing that things are really bad at the moment. We're going into further lockdowns. I mean, we are in lockdown in the UK right now and other European countries. But this is the thing. What I've noticed here is, despite us being in a second lockdown, oil appears to be basing. We've not had a very, very sharp and deep retracement here. So what could be going on? Well, if you have a look at this move, let's actually zoom in closer. Let's go on to a 4-hourly chart. You can actually argue we've already had a correction here. You can argue that was a first leg down, and then we flagged sideways in a wave B, and then wave C completed here. So at this low here of 33.65, that could have been the bottom for the beginning of a third impulse wave. So you have to be a little bit careful about that, because despite everything that's going on, oil is still, after having quite a sharp sell-off, it's maintaining that level around the $40 mark quite well despite all of the news. And now what's happened with this vaccine news is, very likely at some point, possibly later next year, travel will begin to pick up, and then it will speed up. However, because you've had here long term, let me just zoom out again, what you've had happen here now, a lot of the big oil producing nations, they've already agreed output cuts. And with what's happening at the moment, they've continued with these agreements. So what we know is supply in generally, even if Libya is doing whatever it wants to do, supply in general is low. But what might happen is demand could pick up very quickly, and we could get a rebound effect. We kind of saw a mini rebound in summer when it came to traveling, but it wasn't significant. Well, what happens if we see that accelerate, especially in the first quarter of 2021? If supply remains constricted and we see demand pick up quickly, this could support the view that oil then begins a massive rally upwards. And in my opinion, kind of longer term targets, I think in a year or two, oil could get back over $100. And to be honest, I say that more than anything else based on the longer term structure. So if you actually zoom out a month, we did get to very, very high oil prices back in June of 08. So what I believe is happening here is all of this over the last kind of 12 years was correction, and now we're beginning another impulse move again back towards those highs. Now, is it possible we still have more correction? Yes, but again, the structure is giving us clues. So if you have a look at this high here, which was printed on the 21st of October, we've actually gone above that high already now. So if this was the beginning of further movement down, so let me just mark that off. If this was the beginning of another impulse down, that's invalidated now because we've broken above that 20th of October high. So where could price go right now in the short term, and what's the setup? Well, quite clearly here, what you can see from that kind of 33.70-ish area is we've had an impulse up, correction, we flagged across, another impulse, and now we appear to be flagging again. So where are we in terms of this move up? Because the problem here is it does look a little bit like a three-wave move up. We don't know, of course, whether it's completed, but we have to be mindful of the fact we could be in ongoing correction. However, it's more of a sideways correction. So what could happen here in that scenario is, let me just zoom out again onto a 4-hourly chart. This was all one correction down, and it's a W, then an X, and then a Y, and then we go from there. That's absolutely possible. But the other possibility now is we've already begun the next move up. The reason I like the first one I've just discussed is because of the ongoing lockdowns. But the problem is in December, we're still in November at the moment. In December, what I discussed on my previous video with oil is seasonality changes. In December, we tend to get a bit of a spike up in terms of oil demand. The actual quiet months tend to be January and February, not really December as much as we get into kind of winter heating season. However, the other scenario here is we did complete a wave 2 bottom here, and we're actually in a wave 3, which tends to be the strongest. And what we've done here is a 1-2-1-2 pattern. So what happens in that scenario is we've already begun our move up, and we're in the beginning stages of a smaller wave 1-2 in this massive wave 3 move up. For that to be confirmed, what I'd be looking for, if that is to play out, is a move back towards this recent high around the $43 mark, and then a break of this, what I think was the end of a wave 1 here. If we break above that, then you would say it's very likely we're now moving into a wave 3, and that has to be a significant move up because of how far that first wave was. So we should then accelerate towards the $60-$70 level. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what the structure's saying. If we do get that break and we are moving up, that's what could happen. So what will give us a clue now as to whether we're in ongoing correction or whether we're actually beginning another impulsive move up? Well, I think the biggest clue is actually the stock market, because the correlation between oil and stock market has been strong. So let me show you that right now. You see there below, I've got correlation coefficient. That's the S&P 500. So generally, from say mid-May onwards, when the stock market has moved up, oil has as well, and when oil's been in a big correction, so has the stock market. Now that's really important, because as I discussed in recent videos, if we're going to get a final strong stock market rally, I think oil could follow there. And then when the stock market actually tops out and then moves down, oil could then do something similar. So if we jump onto, let's say, the Nasdaq here, and if we zoom out from the March lows, you can see very clearly strong impulse move up, and then we've had sideways movement since the beginning of September. And what I think this could be completing, given where we got to before, we didn't quite break the previous high, this could be completing a flat correction. So a flat correction, I've got an example of one here. So you can see 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, and then possibly a 5-wave move down. Now, I don't know that for sure. We can't say for sure, but if that's what's going on, for example, in the Nasdaq, that would suggest then we've got a bit more of a sideways correction in oil in the coming few weeks. And then once that completes, then we'll get a full-on rally in stocks and also in oil. If you'd like some more comprehensive training in market structure like this, where we go through many different classic and advanced technical analysis setups, then I have a program. It's the first link in the description below, and I currently have a Black Friday offer. You'll also see the coupon code for that just below. So back to oil, I think the key levels to watch out for are that high we saw on the 26th of August, 43.74. To see if we break above that, that would definitely be bullish. But on the downside, if we are going to experience a bit more correction and possibly a stronger push down, which is still possible, a below $30 move for oil, then first what you'd want to see is a break below this level here. So this possible where it could be a wave one high, that level which is around 39.25. I think if price starts trading around this area, you definitely say that the higher probability is more downside to come before we get any further move up. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll do another update very soon. Thanks very much for listening.